Can you remember what you did before Zoom? Zoom was the platform of 2020, allowing us to work and communicate throughout the pandemic. And although there's been mass adoption, there perhaps hasn't been mass adaption, as the "you're on mute" trope reminds us. Zoom is such a versatile platform, but you might not be using it to its full potential. In this video, you're going to learn different ways to use Zoom that you perhaps haven't even thought of before. For example, I'm using Zoom right now to record this video. I first started using Zoom in 2018 when I was recording interviews for my podcast. And that's all that I thought that Zoom was for a couple of years. So whilst I was early to the Zoom party in terms of getting on the platform, I only really saw it as a video call software, something that could kind of just be swapped around with Skype or even things like Facebook Messenger and Facebook calls. But then the pandemic came along. And when we started to use Zoom for other things, work meetings, online workshops, I realized that I had been stunting myself with how I was using this platform. So I started to dive really into learning what you can do on this platform, trying out different things, learning the features. I even recorded a course about how to use Zoom for 2020. In this video, I'm going to outline what the main thinking points are for using Zoom, the different ways that you can use it. And I was only in one category, using it for a one-to-one conversation. But even then, the one-to-one conversation of a podcast interview isn't the only way that you can use it for the one-to-one conversation. Want to find out more? Let's get into it. The first way to use Zoom is actually with no one else around. Is to use it solo. For example, I'm recording this right now as a video by myself, but I'm using the technology to allow me to film, allow me to stand to present. So this is a great option if you maybe don't have tripods and fancy cameras and things like that. You can just set up Zoom on a laptop, get that laptop as high as you can, and you can stand and record a video. But actually the way that I use it a lot more, solo by myself, is to practice my speeches. What you get is an objective look at what you're doing on stage. So I can get myself a little bit more into stage process, imagining I've got a bit more of a stage to work with, and I can look at, well, what's my blocking like? What's my movement like across stage? I can look at some of my gestures, my facial expressions, and also picking up, well, how are those words coming out? I think that I'm saying the sentence this way, but the recording will tell me whether I'm actually saying it. Are my words and my body language and everything aligned and congruent? So using Zoom to practice your speeches and give you that objective feedback is a fantastic way of using the platform. It's something that I've used so much more over the past couple of years. Before, I used to stand in front of a mirror, you know, the big wardrobe mirrors, and just try and catch a glance in that. No need for any of that shenanigans anymore. Get yourself on Zoom, practice your speeches, record them, watch them back to get great feedback. The second way to use Zoom is to use it dual, you and one other person. And as I shared with you earlier, that's how I started with Zoom, using it for podcast interviews. But since then, I found another really powerful use of Zoom, and that's to record client testimonials. When I get to the end of a coaching program, either with one individual client or with a group of clients, I will schedule one-to-one interviews with them and find out, well, what worked for them in the program? What have they changed? And what was it about the program that allowed them to make those changes? I then have that recorded on video, and I can use that, with their permission of course, as a video testimonial. And it's a much better way than sometimes when you ask people for testimonials, it's a little bit of pressure just to kind of turn on the camera and speak into it. And considering my industry where I'm training people to speak, it's still a little bit of pressure. So imagine what happens when you're in other industries. You're in health and wellness, or you're in business, or you're in relationships. Perhaps people don't really feel comfortable getting up on camera themselves and saying something good about you, even if they really feel something good about you and the work that you've done together. So much better is to get it into an interview process where it feels a little bit more like a conversation. I can guide them with some questions and ideas, and they just say naturally what they think, but with that little bit of extra help and support there. Also, and this isn't so much the testimonial part of it, but in that interview, I also ask them for improvements. What are some things we can change or do better in the future? So using Zoom to get that information from your clients is so invaluable. I've been able to grow and change my program so much. Number one, through attracting new people, because the first client says some great stuff, but also continue to help and support the new clients going forward, because the ones who've been through the program gave me some great ideas and I was able to grow and change and improve as a result. That's a new way that you can use Zoom in that dual format for a one-to-one conversation. Mass adoption, but perhaps not mass adaption. That was a phrase that I used earlier in this video. And really that's what we've experienced over the last couple of years, with a shift into virtual, into hybrid, into working from home. And it's still a little bit of a maze to get our way around and learn some of the skills to keep up to date. I mean, even right now as I record this, we have ChatGPT coming into the horizon. That's a whole different set of virtual communication tools that are going to be opened up to us. How do you manage to keep up with the changes and adaptations? This book may help you, The Virtual Speaker's Revolution. In this book, I outline all of the skills of communicating on camera and communicating virtually, and also looking at how you utilize some of the different methods of communicating online, whether that be going live on social media, whether that be setting up your video archive and library on YouTube, whether that be using Zoom to enhance your business and your career. So if you found the tips on Zoom today helpful and you'd like to learn a little bit more, get into the weeds a bit with some of the tech features, what they do and how you can use them, get some more ideas of how you can use Zoom in your career and business right now, then all of that is found in The Virtual Speaker's Revolution. #1 bestseller on Amazon, available in all the formats: ebook, paperbook, audiobook, and in the future, hologram, artificial intelligence book, or whatever we end up doing in the years to come. Click the link below to get your copy. Now let's look at the third way you can think about using Zoom. The third way you can use Zoom is for a group use, bringing multiple people together. And this is something we certainly learned and embraced a lot more during the pandemic. Whether it be doing work meetings on Zoom, whether it be doing family and friend get-togethers on Zoom, this is such a versatile platform for bringing people together around the world. And it's something I wish I'd learned and realized so much earlier. Before COVID, I was doing things in person. Yes, I had my social media videos that I was using, but I only ever saw that as a supplement and a complement to what I was doing in person. I never actually saw the potential of virtual to be the main meat of what I was doing. So I was spending hundreds of pounds renting out rooms to run workshops in, the transport, the various expenses and costs involved in all of that. It was a lot. But on Zoom, you can get a paid membership. It's about $15 a month just for the first level, and the first level is all you need. And with that paid membership, you can run sessions of unlimited time for large groups of people. We're talking up to 100 or 1,000 people. And when you're starting out, you're not going to get more than that. Even now, after doing it for several years of speaking, I still don't have audiences that big online. And not often in person do I have audiences that are bigger than that. So Zoom allows you to run group sessions and get people from all across the world. And I think this is a great equalizer. If you live in somewhere that's a little bit more isolated and remote, I live in a very small country. There is Scotland, 5 million people. And a lot of those 5 million people, I can't access. So yes, I can go to a couple cities and run events, but a lot of people won't travel that far to the city. They might be an hour and a half, they might be 2 hours away. They might not be available during the week. They might not be available on weekends. And then how do I get beyond those 5 million people? How do I get to speak to people in North America, people elsewhere in Europe, people on all the continents of the world? Doing that in person is very challenging. Not to mention very expensive if you're trying to fund it yourself. But with Zoom, you can bring people together from way outside your catchment area. I can reach people all across my home country and in other countries as well. If you aren't using Zoom to run some kind of group session, some kind of webinar, some kind of workshop, you've got to start. It's such an easy way to get yourself in the game and such an easy way to spread your message to the people who need to hear it across the world. And that for me is the real power of Zoom. The other uses of Zoom are great, but this is where it's at. Bringing people together in a group, sharing your work and sharing your message as a speaker. And that's why I think Zoom has been one of the most important developments in all speaking, not just virtual speaking, in public speaking, in professional speaking. It's one of the most important developments there has ever been. And if you're not on it now, you've got to get on it now. I know that's not a very fancy way of saying it, but that's just the truth of it. Get yourself onto group sessions. Throw something up, get people together for an hour, get yourself in the game. This is such a good platform when you understand how to use it, and hopefully the video today has given you some different ideas of how you can use it beyond just the conference call at work or the interview with a prospective employee. There is much better ways that you can use Zoom. Take these ideas, run with them, roll with them, experiment with them, and perhaps you even find your own as well as the platform continues to change and evolve, as we continue to change and evolve with it.